He imprisoned his own father. He executed his own brothers. He hunted his own sons. He spent 50 years destroying everything his ancestors spent 200 years building. By the time Aurangzeb died, the Mughal Empire was rotting from the inside, hemorrhaging territory, drowning in debt, and burning in 100 simultaneous rebellions that he himself had ignited. His name was Muhyiddin Muhammad, but history knows him as Aurangzeb, ornament of the throne. The most controversial emperor in Indian history. A man of ferocious intelligence, iron discipline, and genuine personal piety, who used every one of those qualities to cause more destruction than any foreign invader ever had. This is his story. And it will make your blood boil. When Shah Jahan fell ill in 1657, his four sons did not wait. They did not pray for their father's recovery. They immediately raised armies and went to war against each other, while their father lay dying. It was the most brutal succession war the Mughal dynasty had ever seen. Aurangzeb was the third son. He was also the most calculating, the most patient, and the most utterly without mercy. While his brothers fought each other openly, Aurangzeb moved like a serpent, forming alliances, breaking them, making promises he never intended to keep. He defeated his brother Murad, then arrested him and had him executed on a fabricated murder charge. He defeated his brother Dara Shikoh, the man Shah Jahan had loved most, a poet, a philosopher, a man who believed all religions led to God. Aurangzeb had him paraded through the streets of Delhi in chains, on a filthy elephant, dressed in rags, so the entire city could see his humiliation. Then he had him beheaded. Shah Jahan recovered from his illness. He lived. And for that, Aurangzeb made him pay for the rest of his life. Aurangzeb locked his own father in the Agra fort, the great red sandstone palace that Shah Jahan had himself built, and kept him there for 8 years. Not in a dungeon. In a palace room with a window. A window that faced the Taj Mahal, the tomb of Mumtaz Mahal, the woman Shah Jahan had loved more than his empire. Aurangzeb knew exactly what he was doing. He gave his father one comfort, the sight of the monument he had built for love, and made that monument itself into a daily reminder of everything that had been taken from him. Shah Jahan spent 8 years gazing at the Taj Mahal through a window he could never open. He died in 1666, still imprisoned by his own son. The man who built the most beautiful building in the world died as a prisoner. That is the cruelty of Aurangzeb. Akbar had spent his entire reign building something extraordinary, a Mughal empire that belonged to all of India. Hindu and Muslim. Rajput and Afghan. Persian and Indian. He had abolished the jizya, the special tax that non-Muslims paid. He had married Hindu women, appointed Hindu generals, celebrated Hindu festivals at court. He had built a civilization of genuine tolerance, unprecedented in the medieval world. Aurangzeb dismantled every single piece of it. He reimposed the jizya, taxing Hindus for the crime of being Hindu. He banned music at court. He banned dance. He banned painting. He ordered the destruction of Hindu temples on an industrial scale. Historians estimate he ordered the demolition of thousands of temples across India, replacing many with mosques built from their broken stones. Akbar had spent a lifetime building a bridge between communities. Aurangzeb spent 50 years dynamiting it, stone by stone. In 1675, Aurangzeb committed an act so monstrous that it echoes through Indian history to this day. Guru Tegh Bahadur, the 9th Guru of the Sikhs, came to Delhi to stand before Aurangzeb and demand that Kashmiri Hindus be allowed to practice their faith without persecution. Aurangzeb's response was simple and savage. He had Guru Tegh Bahadur arrested. He had 3 of the Guru's companions tortured to death in front of him, to break his will. One was boiled alive in a cauldron. One was burned alive. One was sawn in half. The Guru did not break. On November 11, 1675, Guru Tegh Bahadur was publicly beheaded in Chandni Chowk, the great market of Delhi, in front of thousands of witnesses. Aurangzeb thought he was sending a message of power. He sent a different message entirely. The Sikh community, already defined by faith and brotherhood, became defined by something new that day. Burning, unquenchable fury. The 10th Guru, Gobind Singh, the son of the man Aurangzeb had beheaded, would forge that fury into a sword that never stopped cutting. If Aurangzeb had one nemesis, one man who humiliated him completely and repeatedly, it was Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Shivaji was a Maratha Hindu warrior who carved an independent kingdom out of the Deccan through sheer military genius, extraordinary personal courage, and the absolute loyalty of his people. Aurangzeb summoned Shivaji to Agra in 1666, intending to neutralize him through the ancient trick of imperial hospitality turned into gilded imprisonment. He humiliated Shivaji at court, placing him among minor nobles instead of giving him the respect his status demanded. Shivaji erupted in fury, publicly insulting the emperor, and was placed under house arrest. What happened next became the stuff of legend. Shivaji escaped. He hid himself and his son in large baskets of sweets being carried out of the city as charitable donations. The most powerful emperor in Asia could not hold one man in his own palace. Aurangzeb never forgot that humiliation. He spent the rest of his reign trying to destroy what Shivaji had built, and failed completely. In 1681, Aurangzeb made the decision that killed the Mughal Empire. He moved his entire court, his government, his treasury, his army, his administration, to the Deccan in southern India to personally oversee the conquest of the Maratha kingdom. He stayed there for 27 years. 27 years. The emperor of the world's richest empire lived in a tent. He fought an enemy that refused to fight him conventionally, that melted into the hills when he advanced and reformed behind him when he passed. The Marathas did not try to defeat his army. They bled it. Every convoy was raided. Every supply line was cut. Every garrison was surrounded and starved. Aurangzeb won every battle and lost the war. While he was in the Deccan, his empire in the north collapsed. Governors became independent. Tax revenues dried up. The treasury that Akbar had filled emptied. Aurangzeb's obsession with the south cost India everything. Here is the most disturbing paradox of Aurangzeb's life. He was personally incorruptible. He never took a bribe. He never enriched himself. He sewed his own caps and copied the Quran by hand and sold them to earn a personal income, because he refused to use imperial funds for his private expenses. He ate simply. He dressed plainly. He slept on a mat. He prayed 5 times a day without fail for 90 years. He was, by every personal measure, a man of genuine religious devotion and personal integrity. And yet this same man, this personally honest, personally humble, personally devout man, boiled people alive, beheaded saints, imprisoned his father, executed his brothers, demolished thousands of places of worship, and drove his empire into the ground through 50 years of religious persecution and military obsession. He proves something terrifying. That a man can be genuinely pious and genuinely monstrous at the same time. That personal virtue and political evil are not mutually exclusive. The Mughal cycle of sons destroying fathers did not spare Aurangzeb. The man who had imprisoned his own father, executed his own brothers, and hunted his own nephews, watched his own sons raise rebellions against him. Prince Akbar, named deliberately after the great tolerant emperor his father had destroyed, revolted in 1681 and fled to the Maratha court of Shivaji's son Sambhaji. He spent years plotting with the very people his father was trying to exterminate. Prince Muazzam spent years imprisoned on suspicion of correspondence with the enemy. Prince Azam and Prince Kam Bakhsh fought each other and their father simultaneously. Aurangzeb, the man who had seized power by destroying his family, found his family trying to destroy him. He had taught them that power was everything and family was nothing. They learned the lesson well. He spent his final years writing letters to his sons filled with regret and recrimination, the bitter harvest of a man who had sown nothing but violence his entire life. In February 1707, Aurangzeb lay dying in his tent in the Deccan. He was 88 years old. He had ruled for 49 years. And in his final days he wrote letters, extraordinary letters that survive to this day, in which he said things that no emperor in history had ever said. He wrote to his son, "I know not who I am, where I shall go, or what will happen to the sinner like me. He wrote, I have greatly sinned and know not what punishment awaits me. He wrote, I came alone and I go as a stranger. I do not know who I am nor what I have been doing. He, the man of iron certainty, the man who had enforced his religious vision on an entire subcontinent through fire and sword, died in a state of profound doubt. He died wondering if everything he had done was wrong. He had destroyed the Mughal dream of Akbar. He had planted the seeds of every rebellion that would tear India apart for the next 2 centuries. And in his final hours, alone in a tent in a land he had failed to conquer, he knew it. When Aurangzeb died in 1707, the Mughal Empire had 15 years left as a meaningful power. Within 50 years it would be a ghost, an emperor with no empire, a throne with no territory, a dynasty with no future. The process Aurangzeb set in motion was unstoppable. The Marathas had grown into a power that controlled vast swathes of India. The Rajputs, alienated by decades of persecution, were ungovernable. The Sikhs, forged in the fire of Aurangzeb's brutality, had become a military force of terrifying effectiveness. The Deccan sultanates had been absorbed but not digested. And into this chaos, into this empire weakened by 50 years of religious persecution, military overextension, and political fragmentation, walked the British East India Company. They did not conquer a mighty empire. They picked up the pieces of one that Aurangzeb had already smashed. Aurangzeb did not just destroy his dynasty. He destroyed the possibility of a united India for 200 years. Aurangzeb is the most debated figure in Indian history. There are those who see him as a hero of Islamic faith, a man who held true to his convictions in a world of compromise. There are those, and there are many, who see him as the man who broke India. Both are looking at the same evidence. The Mughal Empire after Aurangzeb was a corpse that had not yet fallen. 12 emperors would follow him in the next 150 years, most of them puppets, most of them murdered, all of them powerless. In our next episode we follow that collapse to its end, the last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Jahan, a poet, an old man, a prisoner, who watched the British dismantle the last pretense of Mughal power in 1857. The story of the last Mughal is one of the most heartbreaking stories in all of Indian history. Subscribe to the history class, and we will see you in the next class. Disclaimer: the information presented in this video has been researched and compiled from multiple historical sources including books, academic papers, encyclopedias, and historical records. While every effort has been made to ensure accuracy, history is a subject of ongoing research and interpretation. The portrayal of historical figures reflects documented accounts and scholarly analyses. Different historians and sources may present varying assessments of the same individuals and events. We do not claim this to be the definitive or only version of events. Viewers are encouraged to explore multiple sources and form their own informed opinions. This video is intended purely for educational and informational purposes.